And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Kaltbaum, your host. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. It's October 8th. It's 2025. Hope you're having a good day. We're here in Central Florida. It's hot today. That's the best thing I can tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be succinct, in-depth, and to the point today. We will talk slowly and make a very important point of potentiality. I have no idea if potentiality is a word, but I put itty verse after potential. You'll understand where I am coming from in just a moment. Please listen carefully. You'll understand why. By the way, this is Investor's Edge. This is serious talk on everything that affects you. We do the markets and the economy and jobs and your job and your industry and the scams and shams and the corruption and the graft and the grift and all kinds of crap emanating from Washington, D.C. And you can read all about what's going on with this administration. You can go read it yourself. But we're not going to deal with that today. We're going to deal with the markets today because we have some pointed things to say today. And if you do not get this radio show in your city, we'll post it at GaryK.com. Also on our X feed. If you don't follow us on X, you should. If you'd like to email us, just be nice. And of course, we'll also post it on the YouTube channel Biz TV and other podcast apps. Are you listening? No, are you listening? Good. The Dow was down a point today. The Dow was down a point today. The NASDAQ was up 255. The NASDAQ 100 was up 296. The Philadelphia Semiconductor Index was up 225 today. You got that? I would say the S&P, but the S&P is laden with the NASDAQ stuff. What did we tell you? The top 7 is 36% of the S&P, and they're all big tech. Okay. We want you to listen carefully. We're predicting nothing. We're outlining potentiality. Maybe I made up a word. The Dow was down 1 today. The NASDAQ was up 255. Oh, by the way, gold soared again today. The GLD up another $6. Dell Computer up almost 14. NVIDIA 4. Just remember, some things are higher priced than others. AMD up 24. They just signed that deal. CrowdStrike up 25. Snowflake 15. Micron 10. Taiwan Semiconductor 10. SanDisk 11. Are you listening? Good. So back in 1999, an event happened. We were in a bullish market in 1999. In fact, in 1998, in August and September, we had one of the biggest double bottoms in history. You had a big drop in the market because of long-term capital, I think it was. The NASDAQ went from 2,000 down to 1357, bottomed, and in 3 months we were up to 2533. NASDAQ. In February of 99, started to settle down and just drift. It just drifted. And by November of 99, we had gone from January 2,500 to about, actually only 2,600 in October of 99. But then, in 1999, the NASDAQ broke out. The date was October 29th, above 2,923. Let me repeat, October 29th, it broke out at 2,923. October 29th broke out at 2,923. The NASDAQ from October 29th to March 10th went from 2,923 to 5,132. You got that? In that time, we're not making this up, the S&P only went from 1,342 to a high of 1,553. The NASDAQ went up like 80, the S&P went up 15. And the S&P went up 15 because of the NASDAQ types. You got that? The financials were in a bear market already. They were bearish. Other areas were bearish. The home building stocks, remember we told you the story, went down to 1 times earnings. It became something of a one-note market. And then, of course, topped out. At the time, we had the most over-owned and over-loved concentrated area of the market in history, in a select group of stocks. The NASDAQ went into an 80% drop to the bottom in 2003 with some wild swings during those bear market years. In fact, the NASDAQ had, since such big drops, you had unbelievable counter-trend moves on that. For instance, the NASDAQ went from 5132 down to 3,042 in 2 months, and rallied up to 4,200 within a couple of months after that. A 40% move. You then drop down all the way to 1,600, but rallied up to 2,300 quickly. It's like 40%. You then drop down to 1,387 and rallied up back to 2,100. An amazing rally. Everyone thinking the bear market was over, and then dropped one last time to 1,108. 5,132 on the NASDAQ, down to 1,108. The S&P wasn't as bad because the S&P had other stuff in it, though it dropped a bunch. That was an outcome of two things. Unbelievable concentration in the markets. But number two, that'll be up next. Listen up. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. Back then, you had an amazing amount of speculation and froth. We have told you, and this is a true story, mutual funds would change their name from the technology fund to the internet fund. Companies were announcing adding .com to their name and watch their stocks goosed to the upside. We also saw what would consider to be, and found out after the fact, some weird dealings going on. Vendor financing, where companies lent money to other companies to buy that first company's products. Interesting, huh? We're just setting a little bit of a stage here for you. And just get you thinking of potentiality. By the way, I'm sitting here and I'm about to potentiality to see if it's a word. It's a word! The possibility of something happening or of someone doing something in the future. It's a word. I did not know that. Look at that. You learn something new every day. The Dow was down 1 today. The NASDAQ was up 255. The banks were hit again today. Retail bounce, but remains. You already know all the areas we think are bearish, right? You know about the froth and speculation. We just mentioned yesterday that a man that went to jail for financial crimes involving drug companies mentions on Twitter that he liked an $8 stock and it went to $230 in a day. Hope he sold. By the way, it's a no-sales development stage biotech that ain't going to have drugs for years. Oh, and it hit 230 and it's back down to 160, just letting you know. Hopefully you didn't buy it up there. And we're not throwing cold water on this. Just so you know, we own the Qs since the confirmation day right after April 24th and have not sold. I think we sold a piece. We've owned the S&P since that time. Our positions are things like Robinhood and Nvidia. We just got rid of Tesla and bought a little back. We made 70. Oh, and we own the gold $60 in weeks. So we're not throwing cold water because we're finding new stuff. Boy, I got a bunch of names that we told to our peeps today. Guess where? All in technology land. And mostly all having to do with artificial intelligence. And the build-out of artificial intelligence. And the semiconductor equipment for artificial intelligence. And the data centers for artificial intelligence. And the construction business for artificial intelligence through the data centers. And the energy companies to power for artificial intelligence, because everybody is making announcements on artificial intelligence. By the way, we are not making fun of it. We're dead serious about it. Because the potentiality of this, the next few months, we may see even more verticalness, maybe another word made up, of these names and areas. AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, was a laboring semiconductor until Monday, when it was announced that AMD is doing a deal with ChatGPT, and went up 27% by the close. OpenAI, excuse me. It was up 37. The stock didn't do much yesterday, but went up $25 today. I didn't even see any news. So let me start by saying potentiality. With a proviso, another big word from your host, handsome and buffed. With a proviso. We do not want to see more days that remind us of way back when. Because based on precedent, if we get that same kind of environment, it will be the final leg before the air comes out. Now, we're predicting nothing. We're highlighting precedent. And when I see a day like today where the Dow was down 1, but you got names in one space in the market skyrocketing, don't get me wrong, the commodities had a good day. Of course, commodities will continue to be decent if the dollar keeps crashing. So we're going to be paying attention every single day, because we're also seeing companies, not saying .com or adding .com to their names, but everybody's announcing artificial intelligence. I'm looking at announcements that are really not announcements. It's just marketing. Remember, every one of these companies hires marketing people to have their stock strong. Their job is to promote the companies. Their job is to talk to the companies and tell them this is what's going on in the market and the world, and this is where the best reactions are. What do you got going with artificial intelligence? We'll continue along these lines up next on this, the one and only Investor's Edge. So, we're predicting nothing, we're outlining everything. The market is very much going towards one note. And here is what we will be watching for. Listen up. If the NASDAQ and the NASDAQ 100 and the semiconductors start having the same pattern that we saw in 1999, first off, we're going to be in. That's number one. And we're going to ride it as much as we can. But back then was the end of a big technology boom off of some real suspect stuff. And when we are able to say to you, without an opinion, but just stating a fact, that there is a bunch of this vendor financing, and you can actually draw a circle and post all these companies on there around the circle, and then intertwine them on lending and buying and buying and lending and lending and buying. All artificial intelligence, whatever. It just reminds of some of the things we saw back then. Now let me tell you about 99 just so you know. Out of the breakout, you had this drawn out move with 2 visits down towards the 50-day and a big reversal. I believe it was early February. I'm looking now, 37.48. Within 6 weeks, 51.32 on the NASDAQ, and that was it. And throughout that first year, what did we find? We found companies doing just that. Lending and have them buying, and it was nefarious. And companies like Lucent were bought out, I think, for $1, if I recall. Nortel out of business. I can go on and on. And we are not predicting anything. We're not saying anything. We are outlining for you that we are seeing all these ingredients, and we are going to try and take advantage of it like there's no tomorrow. And right now, this NASDAQ 100 is doing its thing. And all artificial intelligence. The SOX broke out 3-4 weeks ago at 5,900 at 68.60. All artificial intelligence. And we are not telling you that it's not going to change the world. We're just here to tell you the concentration in the market is beyond 99. The money flow in institutions is becoming more and more towards the one note. If we start to see the NASDAQ and NASDAQ 100 go vertical, if only, be prepared. That's all. We're not predicting an 80% drop in the NASDAQ, but we are predicting if something like that occurs, that vertical type move, an all-in type move, where I'm getting calls from 90-year-old women wanting to sell their CDs and buy a nuclear stock, we'll know something's up. Just want you to be ready. But for today, I got breakouts, I got high volume moves, I got unbelievable reaction out of AMD. I got the semiconductors, which had a rough day yesterday, got it all back and more today. I even have Apple that looks about ready to finally break out of to highs. I have software security that got trashed yesterday and right back up near highs. And we're going to be ready for the next names to come. Simple as that. As we head into earnings season. And then from earnings season, we're going to try and find the next one. Last earnings season, you had a bunch of stocks gapping up like crazy on earnings. Blow-ups also. And most of them gapped up so much, too much, that they've done nothing for 3 months. And now a couple are starting to get out like a snowflake. So we're going to be looking for the next big deal. Not announcement, but numbers. Because I do have to tell you, in Techland, you still have names like Salesforce.com, brutal bear market. Adobe, brutal bear market. You still have some of that. And on my left screen, in the lower market cap screen, a lot of stock's been left for dead. It's a lot of narrowness right now, kids, and we're going to try and mine it for all it's worth. Next week, we've got earnings for banks. After that, one by one, the tech going to be showing up and reporting. And we'll be up early. We'll shut it down late and go through thousands and thousands of these earnings reports for what they say, but more importantly, the reactions. And that's the story. While all this is going on in AI land, the job market is weakening, the construction market is weakening, the housing market is weakening, manufacturing is not great. The consumer, very much cost conscious, and you have the president fibbing about it all, telling the world we're the hottest thing going, and we're not. Now, GDP in the threes. I gather if you took out the $2 trillion of deficit spending, it would not be. I don't blame the president. His job is to market as much as he can. And as you know, we love the man for what he did with the border, saving lives. While the last guy, the worst president we've ever had, wanted to screw us as he went out. 10 million, 15 million through the border. Being flown 2 a.m. in the morning to cities, costing those cities billions of dollars that could go to veterans and homeless. I'll never forgive Joe Biden. Never said a word about Jews being terrorized on college campuses. Trump is. We give him all that. Anyway, that's a little bit of the potentiality. And we'll stay on it day to day, and let me be about as blunt as possible. If this occurs, you ain't going to hear it from anybody because they haven't done the studying and the post-analysis that we have done of the precedents of past markets. And just be clear about it. It's all about fear and greed, ladies and gentlemen. Those emotions never go away. The emotions of fear and greed are the same as they were in the year 1900. You can go back to the cavemen. Fear and greed. Our job, measure it. And when it goes to extremes, exploit it. We think there's potentiality. We're headed for some extremes. We'll see. We'll be on it day to day. Up next, this, that, and the other thing, or whatever else. This is the one and only Investor's Edge. In the news, they have arrested this SOB that started the fires in California. I'm hearing the guy's from Central Florida. And I'm thinking to myself, he's just a wormy, scummy, sleazy SOB, and there are dead people, lost lives and homes, and there ain't going to be anything they can do to that SOB. Think about that. And turns out he was happy about it. He wrote up some things. He was happy about it. They got him. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I got to say. Palisades fire arrest. In the news, well, yesterday was October 7th. 2 years. And something weird is happening. You see, right outside of Fox News in New York City, a bunch of, and let me be clear, Hamas lovers were out there where one man threatened the country with terrorism in plain sight. You can go look at the video. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. You have somebody saying that October 7th is going to happen here, not should, is going to happen here, and he wasn't arrested for terror threats? And just remember, these are extremists, and also, unfortunately, a bunch of numbskull followers. Yeah, I'll just follow it. They wouldn't even know, most of them don't even know how to spell Israel, couldn't find it on a map. What's Gaza? They probably spell it G-A-S-A. And I was thinking to myself, boy, there are a lot of people out there. They were celebrating the 2-year anniversary of murder and rape of innocent people. That's what this was yesterday, a celebration. And I have to tell you, I was going to be disheartened, but I realized, I think in this country there's 350 million people, and I'm going to guess there's 225 million adults, right? Am I right? That's about right. Maybe 10,000 people were celebrating it. That means 200 and some odd million were not. So it's just a bunch of schmucks, morons, ass clowns, doofuses, no-lifes, jackasses, pinheads, dumbasses that'll never produce anything in their life, never create anything in their life, but hate. Screw them. Tic-tac-toe. But, man, if I'm President of the United States and I had somebody up there threatening the country with a terrorist attack, oh, that dude is in front of the CIA and the FBI right now. What were you saying? And that little wimp wussy coward, give me a lawyer. That's what would have happened. I'm actually surprised. That something was not done. At least that's what I'm hearing. And for all these people, however the amount, tearing down hostage signs, celebrating terrorists, Hamas, murder, rape of women, beheading of children, burning them to a cinder, for those celebrating, typically you'd say, I feel sorry for them. Screw them. Let them live in their dirty bathtub. And that's it. And of course, what we are seeing, fortunately, employers are finding out who these people are, and they're getting their asses fired left and right. And let them try getting another job. So I'm actually not disheartened. I'm heartened of the 200 and so off million that are not celebrating it and do not like terrorists or terrorism. And that's my take. We're hoping that, we're hearing that, possibly that the rest of the hostages will be let go. Let us not forget who these people are. They're murderers and rapists and animals, and would do it again if they have the chance. We will not forget that. We do not think this administration is going to forget it. And whoever the next administration is, let's hope they understand it. Because these people are not of this earth. They're nothings. And unfortunately, some are around us. I've encountered a couple of people tearing down posters of hostages in New York City. I do the opposite. I don't yell and scream at them. I laugh at them, and I make fun of them. I had one of them challenge me to a fight. I said, go ahead. Nothing happened. What are you going to do? On that note, you have a great evening. Drive carefully. When you get home, do like we do. Quite simple. Make sure you hug your family. Make sure you hug your children. They will feel better. You will feel better. I promise. Stay well. Be well. And pay attention, kids. Have a great one. Good night.